What kind of monster threatens to send S-tapes to a woman's parents' workplace to get them fired? According to explosive testimony today, that monster has a name, and it's Sean Diddy Combs. I'm coming to you live from outside the Manhattan Federal Courthouse, where Day 11 of the music mogul's S-trafficking trial has delivered perhaps the most shocking testimony yet. Today, celebrity stylist Deonte Nash took the witness stand and painted a horrifying picture of psychological torture, physical violence, and blackmail at the hands of the music mogul. Nash's testimony has sent shockwaves through the courtroom and beyond, as he detailed how Combs allegedly weaponized intimate recordings of his former girlfriend Cassie Ventura in the most cruel and calculated ways imaginable. For those just joining us, Sean Combs faces federal charges of racketeering, S-trafficking, and transportation for prostitution. If convicted on all counts, the 55-year-old founder of Bad Boy Records could spend the rest of his life behind bars. But today's testimony revealed a level of depravity that has stunned even seasoned court observers. Let me walk you through the explosive testimony that unfolded in Courtroom 26A this morning. Deonte Nash, dressed in a distinctive black and yellow bomber jacket, entered the witness stand with an unusual air of casualness that would soon way to deeply disturbing revelations. Nash, who worked as a celebrity stylist for both Combs and Cassie Ventura from 2008 to 2018, didn't mince words when prosecutor Maureen Cummey began her questioning. The stylist, who has maintained he doesn't harbor hate toward his former employer, nonetheless provided testimony that painted Cummey as a man consumed by rage and control. He would threaten her, Nash testified, his voice steady but clearly uncomfortable. He would tell Cassie that he would release the tapes. But here's where the testimony took a particularly sinister turn. According to Nash, Combs wasn't content with simply threatening to release intimate recordings of Ventura to the general public. No, the music mogul had a far more calculated and cruel plan in mind. Nash told the packed courtroom that Combs would specifically threaten to send these S-tapes to Cassie's parents' workplaces first, with the explicit goal of getting them fired from their jobs. Think about the psychological warfare at play here. This wasn't just about humiliation or embarrassment. This was about systematically destroying the economic stability of Ventura's family as a form of control and punishment. The testimony reveals a pattern of manipulation that extends far, far beyond the victim herself. By threatening the livelihood of Cassie's parents, Combs was essentially holding an entire family hostage to ensure Ventura's compliance. It's a level of calculated cruelty that speaks to the broader racketeering charges he faces. But Nash's testimony didn't stop at psychological abuse. The stylist provided harrowing details of physical violence that he witnessed firsthand. Violence so brutal that it moved him to direct action. Perhaps the most chilling moment of Nash's testimony came when he described a specific incident of violence that occurred around 2013 as Cassie and Nash were packing for a music festival in Canada. According to the stylist's account, what should have been routine preparation for a professional engagement turned into a nightmare of domestic violence. Nash testified that during this incident, Combs grabbed a sleeping Cassie Ventura by her hair and began hitting her pretty hard. The violence was so severe that Ventura's head struck a bed frame, causing her to bleed. But perhaps most disturbing of all was what Combs allegedly said after this brutal attack. "Look what y'all made me do," Nash quoted Combs as saying to Ventura, Nash, and an assistant who were present. These words reveal a mindset where the perpetrator of violence blames everyone except himself for his actions. It's classic abuser psychology, where responsibility is deflected and victims are made to feel culpable for their own suffering. Faced with this horrific scene, Nash made a split-second decision that speaks to both his courage and the terror of the situation. The stylist testified that he physically intervened, jumping on Combs' back in an attempt to pull him off Ventura. But Nash's motivation, as he explained to the court, was twofold. He wanted to protect Cassie, but he also wanted to protect him from doing something more serious. This detail is particularly significant because it suggests that even those in Combs' inner circle recognized that his capacity for violence had no clear boundaries. Nash wasn't just trying to save Cassie from further harm, he was trying to save Combs from potentially committing an even more serious crime. The immediate aftermath of this violence was equally telling. Nash testified that he dialed 911, the natural response of someone witnessing a serious assault. But critically, he was told to hang up. Who told him to hang up? The testimony suggests it was someone within Combs' circle, indicating a systematic effort to prevent law enforcement intervention, even in cases of clear criminal violence. Nash's testimony also revealed the extent to which Combs controlled every aspect of Ventura's professional life. going far beyond what might be considered normal management oversight. According to the Stylist, Combs required approval for virtually every aspect of Ventura's public appearance and career decisions. Nash testified that Combs had to approve all of Ventura's looks, each of her songs, and every event she attended. This wasn't just about artistic direction or brand management. This was total control over a person's professional existence, with Combs holding the power to withdraw his support whenever the couple was fighting. The testimony revealed that when Combs and Ventura were having relationship disputes, he would use his control over her career as a weapon, withdrawing support for her professional endeavors as punishment for personal grievances. This pattern of behavior aligns perfectly with the federal charges against Combs, which allege that he used his business empire as a tool for coercion and control. Interestingly, Nash noted that this level of control was unique to Ventura among bad boy entertainment artists. When asked about whether other artists had to get their looks approved, Nash replied with characteristic bluntness, "Not that I know of, because some of them looked terrible." This comment, while providing a moment of levity in otherwise dark testimony, also underscores how Ventura was singled out for this level of micromanagement. One of the most important aspects of Nash's testimony was his candid discussion of the climate of fear that surrounded Combs. Despite being an eyewitness to serious criminal behavior, Nash testified that he feared retaliation if he spoke out about what he had seen. This fear wasn't unfounded. Nash revealed that Combs had gotten physical with him on multiple occasions, creating an environment where even those trying to help abuse victims faced personal risk. The Stylist's testimony paints a picture of an organization where violence wasn't an aberration but a tool of management and control. Despite these fears, Nash did take some action. He testified that he told some of Combs' employees about the abuse he had witnessed, though the effectiveness of these reports is unclear given the hierarchical nature of the organization and Combs' position at its apex. Nash's fear of retaliation also extended to his testimony itself. The Stylist made it clear to the jury that he would rather not be testifying against Combs, stating, "I don't hate him. It's just not me." This reluctance actually adds credibility to his testimony, as it demonstrates he has no personal vendetta motivating his statements. The significance of Nash's testimony extends far beyond the specific incidents he described. His account provides crucial corroboration for the federal government's broader case against Combs, particularly the racketeering charges that could result in a life sentence. The prosecution's theory is that Combs didn't operate alone, but used his business empire and network of employees to facilitate and cover up criminal activity. Nash's testimony supports this theory by showing how multiple people within Combs' organization were aware of serious criminal behavior, but were prevented from reporting it through fear and intimidation. The S-tape threats that Nash described are particularly relevant to the S-trafficking charges. Federal prosecutors have argued that Combs used recordings of Schwoll encounters as blackmail material to maintain control over victims. Nash's testimony provides direct evidence of these alleged tactics in action. Moreover, Nash's account of being told to hang up when he called 911 suggests a systematic effort to obstruct justice, which could support additional charges or enhance sentencing if Combs is convicted. Defense attorney Xavier Donaldson's cross-examination of Nash revealed the delicate position the Stylist found himself in throughout his years working with Combs and Ventura. The defense strategy appeared focused on highlighting the benefits Nash received from his association with Combs, while also suggesting that the relationship between Combs and Ventura was more complex than the prosecution portrayed. Donaldson established that Nash became a celebrity stylist after starting as an intern at Bad Boy Entertainment, suggesting that Combs played a role in launching Nash's career. When asked directly about this, Nash responded with a somewhat cryptic "go ahead," neither confirming nor denying the implication but clearly uncomfortable with the line of questioning. The defense also highlighted Nash's ongoing professional relationship with Ventura, including his role in helping her select her wedding dress. This detail, while seemingly minor, was likely intended to show the jury that Nash maintained close personal and professional relationships with both parties, potentially calling into question his objectivity as a witness. Perhaps most significantly, defense questioning revealed that Nash had spoken with Ventura as recently as yesterday, after she had given birth, to offer congratulations. The defense also established that Nash had advised Ventura on what clothes to wear when she testified in the trial. While these conversations might seem innocent, the defense likely wanted to plant seeds of doubt about whether Nash's testimony had been influenced by recent contact with the alleged victim. The atmosphere in the courtroom during Nash's testimony was notably tense, with observers describing Combs as appearing increasingly uncomfortable as the stylist detailed the alleged abuse. Court watchers noted that Combs, wearing his now characteristic navy sweater and white-collared shirt, frequently consulted with his legal team during the more damaging portions of Nash's testimony. The presence of Combs' family members, including his sons Justin, Christian, and Quincy, added another layer of complexity to the proceedings. At one point before testimony resumed, Combs was observed motioning to his sons, who had arrived late, creating a heart-shake hands in a gesture of familial connection, even as testimony painted him as a violent abuser. Nash himself brought an unusual energy to the proceedings, at one point commenting on the courtroom temperature with an unprompted "It is freezing in here, how do y'all do this all day?" before taking a break. This casualness, while perhaps unprofessional, actually served to humanize the witness and make his more serious testimony appear unrehearsed and authentic. Nash's testimony comes at a crucial juncture in the prosecution's case. We're now in the third week of what's expected to be a 2-month trial, and the government appears to be building systematically toward their central argument, that Combs operated a criminal enterprise that used violence, intimidation, and sexual coercion to maintain control over victims. Earlier witnesses have included Cassie Ventura herself, who provided 4 days of emotional testimony about alleged years of physical and sexual abuse. Ventura's testimony was corroborated by other witnesses, including her mother, friends, and former employees of Combs, all painting a consistent picture of systematic abuse and control. The prosecution has also called expert witnesses on domestic violence and trauma, helping the jury understand why victims often remain in abusive relationships and may delay reporting abuse. This expert testimony provides important context for understanding the prosecution's case and the behavior of alleged victims. Nash's testimony is particularly valuable because he witnessed abuse as a third party with no romantic relationship to either Combs or Ventura. His account provides an outside perspective on the relationship dynamics and corroborates Ventura's own testimony about the violence she allegedly endured. The defense team's approach to Nash's testimony reveals important aspects of their overall strategy. Rather than directly challenging Nash's credibility or denying that violence occurred, they appear to be focusing on contextualizing the abuse within a broader pattern of mutual dysfunction. This strategy aligns with statements made by defense attorney Alexandra Shapiro earlier in the trial, when she conceded that Combs had engaged in domestic violence, but argued there was mutual violence in the relationship. By acknowledging some level of abuse while arguing it was mutual, the defense may be hoping to reduce the charges from systematic trafficking and racketeering to more traditional domestic violence offenses. The defense has also consistently argued that what the prosecution characterizes as a criminal enterprise was actually just Combs' legitimate business operations, and that sexual encounters described as trafficking were actually consensual activities between adults. Nash's testimony complicates this narrative by providing evidence of clear criminal behavior went beyond any reasonable definition of consensual activity. Looking ahead, the prosecution has indicated that Nash will return to the stand tomorrow morning to complete cross-examination. Following Nash, the government plans to call a witness identified only as Mia, who is described as one of Combs' former assistants and an alleged victim herself. Maya's testimony is expected to continue through Friday afternoon, and could provide additional first-hand accounts of alleged abuse within Combs' organization. The fact that she's been given a pseudonym suggests her testimony may involve particularly sensitive or dangerous subject matter. The prosecution has also indicated they're ahead of schedule and may cut some planned witnesses, suggesting they feel confident in the strength of their case with the testimony they've already presented. Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Cummey has stated they're aiming to rest their case by the end of the second week of June, though it might continue into the following week. The testimony we heard today extends far beyond the specific charges against Sean Combs. Nash's account of S-tape blackmail threats provides a window into the broader culture of abuse and exploitation that critics say has long plagued the entertainment industry. The systematic nature of the alleged abuse, from the threats against family members, employment to the prevention of 911 calls, suggests this wasn't impulsive violence, but calculated psychological warfare designed to maintain complete control over victims. This level of premeditation could significantly impact sentencing if Combs is convicted. The case has already prompted renewed conversations about power dynamics in the music industry and the ways in which successful artists and executives can allegedly use their positions to exploit and abuse others. The federal government's decision to pursue racketeering charges, typically reserved for organized crime cases, signals their belief that Combs' alleged crimes weren't isolated incidents but part of a systematic criminal enterprise. Legal experts following the trial have noted the strength of the prosecution's case, particularly their ability to present multiple corroborating witnesses who provide consistent accounts of alleged abuse and criminal behavior. Nash's testimony is particularly powerful because he had professional relationships with both Combs and Ventura, giving him unique insight into their relationship dynamics. The specificity of Nash's testimony, including direct quotes and detailed descriptions of violent incidents, makes it difficult for the defense to dismiss as fabrication or misremembering. The fact that Nash called 9/11 provides contemporaneous evidence of his concern about what he was witnessing, even if the call was ultimately terminated. However, defense attorneys will likely continue to focus on the complex relationships between all parties involved, arguing that the situation was more nuanced than the prosecution suggests. They may also emphasize Nash's continued professional relationships with both parties as evidence that the alleged abuse wasn't as severe as claimed. Today's proceedings were also marked by a failed defense motion for mistrial, though this related to different testimony about destroyed fingerprint evidence rather than Nash's accounts of abuse. The defense accused prosecutors of misconduct for implying that Combs might have been involved in the destruction of fingerprint cards related to a separate incident involving rapper Kid Cudi. Judge Aaron Subramanian swiftly denied the mistrial motion, saying there was no testimony that was prejudicial to Combs. However, he did instruct the jury to disregard questions about the fingerprint cards, acknowledging that there were issues with that line of questioning. The failed mistrial motion highlights the high stakes of this trial and the aggressive tactics both sides are willing to employ. For the defense, even unsuccessful motions can serve strategic purposes by disrupting the prosecution's momentum and creating potential grounds for appeal if their client is convicted. As we conclude today's coverage, it's important to remember that these are still allegations, and Sean Combs has pleaded not guilty to all charges. His legal team continues to fight these accusations vigorously, and they will have their opportunity to present their case once the prosecution rests. However, today's testimony from Deonte Nash represents some of the most damaging evidence we've heard so far. The Stylist account of S-tape blackmail threats, physical violence, and systematic intimidation paints a picture of alleged criminal behavior that goes far beyond what might be characterized as typical relationship dysfunction. The specificity and consistency of Nash's testimony, combined with his apparent reluctance to testify and his ongoing professional relationships with both parties, lends significant credibility to his account. His willingness to physically intervene to stop violence, and his immediate instinct to call 911, suggests someone genuinely concerned about criminal behavior rather than someone motivated by personal animosity. Tomorrow, we'll see the completion of Nash's cross-examination and the beginning of testimony from Maya, another alleged victim who worked within Combs' organization. If today's testimony is any indication, we can expect more explosive revelations as this historic trial continues. The case against Sean Combs represents more than just the prosecution of a single individual. It's a test of whether the federal justice system can successfully prosecute powerful entertainment industry figures who allegedly use their positions to exploit and abuse others. The outcome of this trial will likely have far-reaching implications for how similar cases are investigated and prosecuted in the future. For now, Sean Combs remains in custody at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, where his legal team continues to struggle with limited access to their client for trial preparation. As defense attorney Mark Agnifilo noted in court today, the restrictions on their communication are forcing them to make decisions without him, adding another layer of complexity to an already challenging defense. We'll continue our comprehensive coverage of this landmark trial as it progresses. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow as this extraordinary legal drama continues to unfold in Lower Manhattan.